Hey y'all, this is Laura with Hot Fan Media, and today I'm going to be showing you a solution to a power seat issue that we've been having with a 2012 Tahoe. Alright, so this is a common sort of problem, and that is most of the other functions will work, but one of them won't. And you'll hear it, but it's not moving. It's not moving the seat, but you can hear the motor running, and so you know it's not the motor. And I finally found out that these plastic gears had broken. So this is one of them. And it broke off at the top here. It's pretty bad. And this one broke off right in there. I don't know if you can see it very well, but the teeth have broken off on that, and now it just doesn't work. Now, normally what a repairman will tell you is that you have to buy a whole new seat pan. And there's actually a good reason for that. The reason is that these bars, they're welded in here. They're not going to come out. And so that's the reason for that. If you took them out, you'd have to cut them out. And so they just say replace the whole thing. But there is a supplier that makes and sells replacement parts for this problem, but they're not just replacements, they are brass instead of plastic. So this particular spot that I'm working on right here will never have this problem again. One of the things that I read on the internet before you go taking apart everything is that in this hole here, you'll be able to see this square, and you can stick a square screwdriver into it and turn it. Sometimes all that's wrong is that the gears have just kind of caught on each other, and if you can just take the screw and break it loose, that's all you got to do. So yeah, before you go taking everything apart, I would try that first. Now, I didn't film the process of me pulling all this stuff out, and I apologize for that, but it's pretty straightforward. This housing here has 4 screws in it. I hope you can see. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4. And those 4 screws come out. This part sits inside of there, and it was really hard to get out. And I was pretty concerned I was going to break it, but I did end up getting it out without breaking it. I don't know what else to tell you, except if it does break, the whole thing will probably have to be replaced. So being careful with it is definitely a good idea. This is the other piece to that housing. It's really small in here, hard to get around, but these 2 pieces push together and the gears sit inside of it, and it turns this, and that's the motor. So there you go. This piece will not come off without cutting it off, and the Grevin's parts, which makes the replacement part, gives a few minor instructions on how to do this, and they suggest that you use a Dremel tool to cut it off, but they don't really say how. So this is going to be a little bit of an experience, but I do think that using a grinding disc will be the best thing. But the problem with these is that they can chip off and kind of fly out at your face, as well as anything you're using to cut it off with. So I've been instructed to use goggles. Safety first. One of the worst things you could tell somebody with glasses is that they have to wear goggles. This is going to be fun. believe that worked. Okay. I cut it on both sides like that, and it just came right off. It's gonna be a little tougher to get the rest off, I think. I'm gonna need the Dremel again. There we go. All of that's off. Now I've just got to get the top part off. Alrighty. Okay, so I'm just going to try to grind down these grooves now so that I can get my gear to fit on, because it's not really wanting to go on with those grooves there. But yeah, here's all the pieces that came off. I think I made about 5 or 6 cuts, and you can see where the plastic is just, I think they literally melt the plastic onto here or something. I don't think that's glue, which is very interesting, but you'd wish they just did the whole thing in metal, like, so that it doesn't break. But anyway. Perfect! Woohoo! Okay, so what I'm going to do next is this part has this little metal piece on it. I'm going to take it off of the plastic piece, put it on the new metal piece, and see if I can stick it in there. So, motor, there's a little rubber thing, a little metal shaft. Can't get a good angle on this thing. Motor, rubber thing, metal, our little gear right over that. Apologize for the lighting. It's kind of horrible. Oh, I think it goes into the housing first. Yeah, okay. Oh my soul, this is really hard. Okay, I pulled the housing down so you can see. Here's our piece, and it goes right into that little hole. There we go. And then here's the little metal backing part, straight onto that. And let's see if we can get it into our metal thing right there. That'll take 2 hands, hold on. Okay, I just thought I'd mention this before you run into it too. And that is that if I put this part in, then this part will be stationary and I won't be able to get this part back in. So this part first when you've glued that on. So once you've glued that on, this part first, then this part. Okay, so Grevin's Parts recommends that you use JB Weld, and then they list this part number right here on their website. And so this should be the perfect thing to hold this gear in place when we glue it on. Okay, so I've got my JB Weld, I've got my disposable surface, and I've got a little stick to mix it around with. It says to measure equal parts out onto the surface and mix thoroughly. Oh, hello. Came out fast. I can feel all the experienced JB Welder users cringing at me. I think I'm gonna need more than this. There we go. Now I've got some JB Weld. Okay, now one of the important things that you don't want to forget is that these have to go in a certain way. See how it's in there diagonal, and it'll fit this way, but it doesn't really fit this way. It's not really going to spin very well, or maybe not at all. So you have to make sure that you're gluing this piece on the right way. And the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to make sure that this metal piece is facing towards the motor and that this side is facing towards me. And then I'm going to check and see which direction, and then I'm going to stick it on. So it should go on like this, and hopefully that'll be perfect. I'm just going to go for it. I think it should be on thicker. Now this is something I didn't expect. I think I'm gonna have to sit here and hold this because it wants to fall down. I didn't think this through. Okay, so I ended up jerry-rigging this piece of loveliness here so that I don't have to stand here and hold that while that dries. I'm sure if we took the seat out and were at a different angle, this would be a lot easier. But I decided to do this anyway when I took on the project, because when I was diagnosing what was wrong with it, it was easier to be able to stand here and have the ability to click the different buttons to make sure that things were working or not working, that sort of stuff. So would I take the seat out to fix this problem in the future? Probably. But there are also some benefits to keeping it in. But yeah, we will wait for that to dry and I will have to come back, but I will see you then. And now I can take all this away. And it is the next morning, so it's had more than 16 hours to cure, and yep, that thing is on there. And I am so excited to try it out. Okay, so as I've been putting this in, I've realized, and I thought I'd mention, is I was having the hardest time getting this into this housing right here, and it can slide back and forth. The other one can't. I'm still gonna have a hard time getting that one on, but this one can slide back and forth, and I wasn't able to get it on there at all. And the reason was I had done some hammering, and this piece had shifted down, and so it wasn't fitting in correctly. So if you're finding that your gear isn't fitting in the housing correctly, it's probably that, and you can just take a hammer and hammer from the bottom of the gear so that that pops back up. I was having a hard time getting this in to this housing, and I really didn't want this plastic housing to break, because that would pretty much be the end of the story for this project. So what I ended up doing was I took out this piece. Let me see if I can find the other piece to it. It's back in here. This piece was connected to that motor, and that was all connected and tightened down and solid. It wasn't gonna come out, and it was keeping me from being able to get this gear in. So I took it all apart, and it's gonna take me a while to put it all back together again, but I'm glad I did it because I'd rather spend a little extra time than break the housing. So there you go. If you're also having a hard time getting your gear in, you can do that. Okay, so I have the first part of housing around my gear, and I did that by twisting this up and down and hammering on this part because it kept sliding down, and finally got it to go in. You're gonna get worried that it doesn't fit, but it does fit. You just gotta finagle both of those parts. And now I'm gonna see about getting the rod back into this part. Oh, I set it aside. This is so hard one-handed. So I'm gonna try to stick the rod through here And I just pushed my piece right out. Dang it. That's not gonna happen one-handed. Nope. Okay, so I got this part through by sticking this in that hole and then putting it into here. And hopefully I can sort of bend it. I think maybe it won't. Okay, yeah, that works. I can kind of put a little pressure on it and slide that in because it's really hard to get them to go in both at the same time, but I seem to have made it this time. So you put this through the hole first, and then you put it into that, and then you put it into that. It's time for the moment of truth. I'm going to test, see if this thing works. So I probably should have screwed it in first. That might have been a good thing to do. Okay, so now I have it screwed in this time. One screw here, one screw on the bottom here. Now we're gonna try it and see if it works. That's so exciting! It works! Spent a few minutes testing it and making sure that it definitely works, and I'm so happy because it does. And now I've just got to put the other housing back in, check all of it, make sure it works, and then I can put this seat back in and we will be ready to get it done. And I'm so excited because I've been working on this for weeks. Okay, it took a lot of finagling, but I finally got both pieces to fit back in. It was kind of a series of trying different things and making things bend, and I definitely got it in without breaking it, which I'm so thankful for. And now I'll just stick in all the screws and make sure everything still works. I've got all the little screws in now, which, gotta be honest, took like 30 minutes because those little tiny screws and tiny space and things in your way. And this thing was the only thing that let me get in here. So if you have something like that, that'll be good right here. Now I'm gonna just test to make sure everything still works. Here we go. That's the one that was broken. And it's moving quite well, even though it's pushed up against this seat back here, so that's why it's not working as smoothly. That one works. That one works. And we are all good. That's so exciting. Alrighty, so I've got my seat back in. I've got a little bit of this cleaned up, and I've still got a little more cleaning to do. But now this function works just like it should. This is the one that wasn't working before. And all the other ones do too. And that is so exciting. Hope you found this video helpful. We will have the part linked down in the description below. And if you have any questions, I'd love to answer them down in the comments. Thanks for watching, and I will see you again in the garage. The reason for that, hello to you too. These are very, I'm gonna shut him up. I hope I don't have to stand here for long. I'm kind of starting to get the feeling that I will be standing here for long. That's not a great feeling to have. Link to the, oh, that scared me. Big giant bee. At least it wasn't a hornet. I think I would have screamed.